The House will come to order. All those present in the chamber, please stand and remain standing until the colors are posted. Will Ashton, Adela, and Blair come join me to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? You can put them on back down there. That was Ashton, my 6-year-old, Adela, my 3-year-old, my niece Blair, who's 4. Thank you guys so much for leading us in the Pledge of Allegiance this morning. You may all be seated. I want to thank Warrant Officer Matthew Glennie, Sergeant First Class Jamie Bermudez, and Corporal Ryan Turner of the Colorado Army National Guard for presenting the colors today. At this time, on behalf of the entire House, I want to thank the lovely voices that you heard from the University of Denver Lamont Choir. Thank you guys so much. That was wonderful. It's great to see everybody today. We just have a little bit of opening day business to conduct. If there is no objection pursuant to House Rule 2A, Robin Jones will be appointed Chief Clerk. Mr. Schiebel, if you could please stand and be recognized on your first day. Everyone welcome Mr. Schiebel. Please call the roll.
Oh geez, bad start. Representatives. Amabile. Bacon. Baisley. Benavides. Burnett.
Here.
Bird. Bockenfeld. Basenecker. Bradfield. Caraveo. Carver. Catlin. Cutter. Doherty. Duran. Esgar. Exum. Froelich. Geithner. Gonzalez Gutierrez. Gray. Hanks. Herod. Holtorf. Hooten. Joda. Kennedy. Kip. Larson. Lontine. Luck. Lynch. McCluskey. McCormick. McKean. McLaughlin. Michelson Genet.
Present.
Mullica. Neville. Ortiz.
Here.
Pelton. Pico.
Here.
Ransom. Rich. Ricks. Roberts. Sandridge. Sirota. Snyder. Soper. Sullivan. Tipper. Titone. Valdez A. Valdez D. Van Beber. Van Winkle. Weissman. Will. Williams. Woodrow. Woog. Young. And Mr. Speaker.
Present. With 64 members present, 0 excused, 0 absent, and 1 vacancy, we have a quorum. Madam Majority Leader Eskar.
Good morning, Mr. Speaker. I move that a committee of 3 be appointed to notify the Senate that the House is organized and ready for business before them as usual.
Wonderful. Seeing no objection to the motion, Representative Ricks, Chair, Representative Judah, Representative Van Week will notify the Senate that the House is organized and ready for business. Madam Majority Leader Eskar.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move that a committee of 3 be appointed to notify the governor that the House is organized and ready for business.
Seeing no objection to the motion, Representative Tipper, Chair, Representative Benavides, and Representative Woog will notify the governor that the House is organized and ready for business. At this time, the committees to notify the Senate and the governor will be excused to proceed to the Senate into the office of the governor. The House will be in recess until the committees return. All right, I think some senators are in the house. The senators are here. Senator Bridges, former state representative. Come on down. Do you guys want to come down and address the body? Senator Story. Am I missing somebody? Sonnenberg's here? Oh. We're in recess. Senator Sonnenberg.
I'm ready.
Okay, Senator Story's ready. Are we ready to hear from our senators?
Would the good senator from Sterling come on down? I am ready.
You know, Senator Story, you could tell us a joke. You could tell us a funny story. You have the floor. You can do whatever you'd like.
I could. There's so many things to share about.
I want to sit in the I don't want to play.
No, I think once I gavel back in, they'll have to.
Oh, this is my seat.
Recess, all right?
My seat.
You know, I'm not surprised by the delay from the Senate because the Senate is always the sleepier, slower chamber. But Senator Sonnenberg, Senator Story, you guys have the floor. You guys can tell a funny joke. I'm surprised you guys are over here as quickly as you are.
Good to see you, buddy. Thank you. Hey, Happy New Year. Wow. Huge. Everyone's here. This is Ashton and Adele, my niece. I gotta go like.
Oh, okay. Jerry, good to see you.
What's that? Good to see you.
Good to see you. Happy New Year. All right. Well, why don't you guys address this while we're in recess? Is that cool?
However you want to do it.
Robin, should we do it now? All right. Let's do it. Hey, everybody, let's give our attention as much as we can to our Senate colleagues in the well. Senator Story, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Good morning, House members. We came to visit this morning because the Senate got themselves together and moved very quickly and very efficiently and very effectively to come over and share with you that we are organized and ready for business. And we hope you will be too soon. So, there you go.
Senator Sonnenberg.
Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker, and it's a pleasure to be back in the room here with you all. You often wonder, you hear us talk about naps in the Senate. And yes, we take naps in the Senate because we are waiting on you constantly because of your disarray. We are ready. When you are ready, let us know and we'll step up and get the job done. It's a pleasure to be with you.
Very good. All right. Senator Bridges, what else can you add?
That's right.
Oh, man.
Here we go. Here we go. Unlike my colleagues, I'm not going to disparage the House. This is the one time of year I get to actually stand here again, walk down that aisle, and I just want to say I miss all of you, and I can't wait to kill all of your bills.
All right. Well, I think there's a side door. You guys should go out. It's over there. I don't know if I would go down the center aisle, but thanks so much for coming over, and we all look forward to getting the clock running and working with the Senate. You cannot bang the hammer.
It looks like Rich and Judah. Hold on. Tipper's back, yes. So
Okay, I think so the House can come back into order.
Yeah.
All right, the House will come back to order. Representative Tipper, do you want to come down and tell us how the visit was to the Senate? Or the governor? Were you with the governor? Sorry. Tipper and committee. Does everyone else want to come down?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Benavides.
Representative Benavides, Representative Woog. Always late, yes. Mr. Speaker, it was an eventful conversation with the governor. The Senate was, not surprisingly, absent. They were late, but they did show up, and we reported that we're ready. We're excited to get to work. We talked about what has been a difficult end to the year in Colorado for our state. Some of our members affected themselves personally, family and friends. And we talked a little bit about an exciting start to the year. So we let him know that we are ready and we are moving forward.
Awesome. Madam Speaker Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The only thing I would add is that the governor is anxious to be here tomorrow and talked about wanting to see all of your smiling faces as he joins us tomorrow. So we told him we will welcome him.
Wonderful. Representative Woog.
Thank you. The governor mentioned he is very pleased with where our budget's at, and he told us he is looking forward to working with both parties.
That's great. Well, thanks so much. Let's call down Representative Ricks and fellow committee members to talk about the Senate.
Good morning, Mr. Speaker. Yes, we met with the Senate. They were not as warmly welcomed. We were not as warmly welcomed as we welcomed the senators here. So I'm not sure what's going on, but they're kind of snobby.
Representative Judah.
They absolutely admitted that we are the fun house, and they're kind of boring. So they reconfirmed our suspicions.
Representative Van Winkle.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We did all get fined, each and every one of us individually.
We did.
So if anyone wants to, chip in $1 or $2 here and there, and we did wake them up. Former Representative Liston was asleep, I believe, but he's now awake. So the Senate hopefully will join us in hard work this year.
Yeah,
That's great. I can't believe they fined you. Did the Senate president fine you? Wow. That's an ugly precedent to set. Okay, so we have heard from the Senate. We have notified the governor. We are ready to begin our service to the state of Colorado. So with that, let's do introduction of resolution. Mr. Schiebel, please read the title of House Joint Resolution 22-1001. This is the resolution to set up the joint session for the governor's state of the state address tomorrow. Mr. Schiebel.
House Joint Resolution 1001 by Representative Esgar, also Senator Fenberg, concerning a joint session of the House of Representatives and the Senate for the purpose of hearing a message from His Excellency Governor Jared Polis and appointing a committee to escort the governor.
Madam Majority Leader Esgar.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move that the rules be suspended and HJR 22-1001 be given immediate consideration.
The motion is to suspend the rules for the immediate consideration of House Joint Resolution 1001. Seeing no objection, we'll proceed with a voice vote on this motion and on the following motion. All those in favor of aye. All those in say aye. Thank you.
Aye.
Just getting in the swing of things. All those opposed, no. Okay, the motion passes. Madam Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move that HJR 22-1001 be adopted. This is, again, the resolution that simply sets the date and time of the joint session for the governor's State of the State address.
The motion is for the adoption of House Joint Resolution 221001. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. All right, that's better. The resolution is adopted. Pursuant to the resolution, Representatives Lontine, McLaughlin, and Bradfield will serve as the committee to escort Governor of the great state of Colorado to the State of the State address tomorrow. There are a number of changes in the membership of committees. Mr. Schiebel, please read the complete list of appointments to committees.
Committee on Agriculture, Livestock, and Water, Representatives Karen McCormick, Chair, Mark Catlin, Vice Chair, Richard Holtorf, Susan Lontine, Barbara McLaughlin, Rod Pelton, Dylan Roberts, Brianna Titone, Donald Valdez, and Perry Will. Committee on Appropriations, Representatives Leslie Herod, Chair, Julie McCluskey, Vice Chair, Lindsay Doherty, Monica Duran, Ron Hanks, Iman Judah, Kathy Kipp, Colin Larson, Karen McCormick, Kim Ransom, and Janice Rich. Committee on Business Affairs and Labor, Representatives Dylan Roberts, Chair, Tom Sullivan, Vice Chair, Judy Amabile, Shannon Bird, Terry Carver, Monica Duran, Mike Lynch, Kyle Mullica, Nikita Ricks, Shane Sandridge, Mark Snyder, Tanya Van Beber, and Kevin Van Winkle. Committee on Education, Representatives Barbara McLaughlin, Chair, Mark Young, Vice Chair, Mark Baisley, Yadira Caraveo, Tony Exum Sr., Tim Geithner, Kathy Kipp, Colin Larson, and Daphna Michelson-Genet. Committee on Energy and Environment, Representatives Alex Valdez, Chair, Edie Hooton, Vice Chair, Tracy Burnett, Lisa Cutter, Meg Froelich, Ron Hanks, Andre Pico, Emily Sirota, Matt Soper, Brianna Titone, Mike Weissman, Perry Will, and Dan Woog. Committee on Finance, Representatives Shannon Bird, Chair, Mark Snyder, Vice Chair, Adrian Benavidez, Lindsay Doherty, Matt Gray, Kathy Kipp, Stephanie Luck, Janice Rich, Shane Sandridge, Matt Soper, and Carrie Tipper. Committee on Health and Insurance, Representatives Susan Lontine, Chair, David Ortiz, Vice Chair, Mark Baisley, Chris Kennedy, Karen McCormick, Kyle Mullica, Patrick Neville, Emily Sirota, Matt Soper, Brianna Titone, and Dave Williams. Committee on Judiciary, Representatives Mike Weissman, Chair, Carrie Tipper, Vice Chair, Jennifer Bacon, Adrian Benavidez, Rob Bockenfeld, Terry Carver, Lindsay Doherty, Stephanie Luck, Mike Lynch, Dylan Roberts, and Stephen Woodrow. Committee on Public and Behavioral Health and Human Services, Representatives Daphna Michelson-Genet, Chair, Emily Sirota, Vice Chair, Judah Amabile, Mary Bradfield, Lisa Cutter, Serena Gonzalez-Gutierrez, Ron Hanks, Richard Holtorf, Iman Judah, Rod Pelton, Nikita Ricks, Dave Williams, and Mary Young. Committee on State, Civic, Veterans, and Military Affairs, Representatives Chris Kennedy, Chair, Stephen Woodrow, Vice Chair, Judy Amabile, Jennifer Bacon, Tracy Burnett, Andrew Basenecker, Rob Bockenfeld, Mary Bradfield, Patrick Neville, Alex Valdez, and Dan Woog. Committee on Transportation and Local Government, Representative Tony Exum Sr., Chair, Matt Gray, Vice Chair, Andrew Basenecker, Mark Catlin, Meg Froelich, Edie Hooton, Andre Pico, Janice Rich, Tom Sullivan, Don Valdez, Tanya Van Beber, and Kevin Van Winkle.
Great. Okay, at this time, Minority Leader McKean and I will speak about about the upcoming session. And I want to thank everybody for moving through this morning's business so smoothly. So I'll speak, and then we'll hand it over to Minority Leader McKean. I just want to have a few introductions before I get started. I want to introduce my niece Blair and thank her for doing the Pledge of Allegiance. I want to thank thanks Blair. I want to thank my brother Andrew, who's here, with my sister-in-law, his wife Megan. Thanks so much for being here and always being so supportive. My mom and dad are here. They're always there for me. I can't thank you guys enough. Thanks for being here on my last first day. You guys were here on my first day. And then I want to thank Ashton, my oldest, who's 6, and then Adela, who's 3. Thanks so much for doing the Pledge of Allegiance. And then Anders, who's 6 months, is in the back with Emily, my beautiful, wonderful wife. Thanks so much for being here. Jackson Brown once said that choose your life's mate carefully. From this one decision will come 90% of all your happiness or misery. And let me just tell you, Emily, I made the best decision ever. Thanks for being my rock. Thanks for always being there. You're definitely my better half. And for those of you who know her, you know that literally all of that's very true. I also want to take a quick moment to thank the sergeants. Sergeants, thank you guys so much for your service to this state, to this chamber, to all of us. Thank you very much. I want to recognize and thanks Kathy Hahn and Robin Jones and Matt Becker for all of the work that they did in the interim to not only put in the lift, which was a major effort, but to renovate the bathrooms and to do all of these fixes. And the women's bathroom, as you can see, has shifted, which is appropriate since there's more women. There's a women majority here in the chamber. So it was about time that we made that shift. Some of the men aren't standing. I get it. It's still really cool, and it's updated, and you see that arch with all the bricks above it that they exposed, so that's cool. You know, it's a bittersweet feeling looking out at all of you today. Danae, Patrick, Susan, Terry, Kim, Kevin. Today marks our last first day of session, at least in this chamber. Congratulations to all of you for serving the full 8 years. It certainly has been an honor for me, and I'm sure it's been an honor for you. We've come a long way since we were baby legislators. I've added a few gray hairs, a few pounds, pure muscle, right, Patrick? And a few kids. All in all, I'm blessed to have served with each of you, and I really do love you dearly. As Speaker, I'm humbled by the opportunities we have this session to govern on behalf of every Coloradan. From the very beginning, our tenure has been shaped by the hands of history. Who would have guessed something as microscopic as a virus could hold the planet and our fate in a vice grip, shaping the way we govern? In a way, the challenge of this virus is fitting. As many of you know, viruses are ultimately determined by a term that is now firmly in our daily conversations, DNA. The structure, known as the double helix, is what we are used to seeing. 2 strands intertwined together, working together. They're blue, they're red. I might offer, we across both parties, across both aisles, are the DNA of this building. Let us work together to find solutions, to make progress, and to deliver results for the people of Colorado. People need and deserve a government that listens to them and makes their lives easier when they confront unforeseen challenges as individuals, families, and businesses. The problems Coloradans are facing are dynamic. They are moving fast and changing quickly, so we as a government have to respond in kind. The unique situation we find ourselves in, not only because of COVID, but also because of issues like the constant threats against our democracy, the rapidly changing economic landscape, that has put an enormous amount of pressure on Colorado families, and the creeping menace of climate change are a true test for all of us of how well our government can be run when the going really gets tough. The issues we face are always in flux, but the one constant that remains is this institution. I challenge each of you to put this institution first, like the thousands of legislators that came before us. In doing so, we'll set an example for the thousands that will come after us. Yeah, that's worthy. Speaking of those who have served in this chamber before our time, I'd like to take a moment to recognize the loss of former Representative Mike McLaughlin, a dear friend, a giant of Southern Colorado who dedicated his entire life to making our state and his home a better place for all. Barbara, we love you. We're all here for you, and thank you for your service. There's a lot we can learn from the legacy of Mike McLaughlin. Despite serving in a fiercely competitive district, he was always willing to work across the aisle and collaborate with anyone on a good idea. This year, I'm proud to announce that I will once again appoint Mark Callan as Vice Chair of the Agriculture, Livestock, and Water Committee. To me, this is common sense. We all know Representative Callan as an expert on these policy issues, but it's more than that to me. The appointment is also symbolic. It's a clear and resounding representation of my belief in this building that we work best when we work together. Far too many families across our state, the going has gotten really tough. And it's gotten tougher over the last few years. Despite the incredible work we've done to make healthcare more affordable, create a more fair tax code, and support small businesses during their times of need, life in Colorado has gotten more and more expensive. That's why my number one priority this session is to bring down the cost of living in Colorado and make life more affordable for families in our state. As your speaker, this will be the lens through which I will be evaluating legislation. Will this bill make life in Colorado more affordable or more expensive? How will this proposal improve life for everyday families struggling to make ends meet? With these questions as our North Star, I'm confident we can move Colorado forward. Thankfully, we will not be starting from scratch. Far from it. For years now, this body has been hard at work ensuring that the future of Colorado is affordable. Our historic investments in education and the workforce development programs we instituted will ensure that Coloradans are ready to fill the high-paying jobs we've attracted to forge our state's future. The early childhood education agency we created last year will get us closer to universal pre-K, and coupled with our work to provide full-day kindergarten across the state, we're already helping young parents to save money on childcare at a time when on average, and you don't have to tell me this, childcare costs almost as much as college. Our work to guarantee an affordable health insurance option in every county of the state means Coloradans will be better cared for and will keep more money in their pocket to spend when times are tough. The Prescription Drug Affordability Board we set up last year will help rein in skyrocketing costs of prescription drugs and prevent Coloradans from having to decide between buying life-saving medication and putting food on the table. As a firm believer in government's ability to get good work done, despite the political muck, it brings me great satisfaction to know that many of these laws and programs were created in a cooperative, bipartisan way. I'm grateful to each of you on both sides of the aisle for the great effort you've made. But this year, as high costs of living continue to tighten their grip on the budgets of families in Alamosa, Denver, and Larimer County alike, it won't be enough to just cooperate on some of these solutions. So what more perfect time to come together than now? Coloradans need everyone in this chamber coming together to move Colorado forward. We all know what drives Colorado forward: good jobs, healthy and safe communities, successful small businesses, well-funded schools, and a thriving workforce. This session, we will deliver transformational changes that position Colorado for that future. Together, we're going to build a safer, more affordable, and healthier Colorado for all. As I mentioned, my top priority is to save Coloradans money. The people of Colorado deserve to do more than just get by. That's why we have a plan for them to do better. Our investment of federal dollars will save Coloradans money by directing nearly $500 million into innovative, affordable housing solutions. With your help, and hard work, we're going to create a revolving loan fund to leverage private and local dollars to rapidly finance the development of affordable housing units. We're going to deploy thousands of ready-to-go affordable homes quickly, especially in more rural parts of our state. And because housing costs are far from the only concern weighing on Coloradans' minds, we're going to keep working to lower prescription drug costs, ensuring that drug rebates are passed along to consumers, saving people money on health care. We're going to reduce fees associated with starting a business or obtaining a professional license for nursing and other frontline jobs. All of these innovative ideas will mean more money in Coloradans' pockets, but they also mean a stronger, more resilient economy. Of course, this session will be as long as any other, actually maybe shorter than some that we've had recently. So we'll work on more than just saving people money. We're going to make smart public safety investments to prevent crime and reduce recidivism to make our communities safer. We want to stop crime before it happens, and we'll continue fighting to ensure that every Coloradan can feel safe in their community. And what we want to stop people, especially young people, from entering the system in the first place, and to provide those who do with the tools they need to turn their lives around. This means pursuing community-based solutions to homelessness and substance use disorders, working with local governments to address and prevent pandemic-induced crime, and investing in resources to break up crime rings. We will not go back to the failed policies of the past of overpopulated prisons, wasted taxpayer dollars that have left us with high recidivism and not nearly enough rehabilitation. Instead, it's time to make Colorado safer and forge a more compassionate and more effective criminal justice system. As events over the last year laid bare, climate change is an urgent, immediate threat to our state and our communities. We've taken steps to significantly reduce our greenhouse gas emissions and position our state toward a cleaner, greener future. But at last, we had days over the last year where our ozone pollution showed us we have to do more. So we're going to better invest in our air and water by cracking down on polluters, improving our permitting and monitoring systems, and reducing emissions on high ozone days like the ones we all suffered through last summer. We're going to invest in cleaning our air now. COVID has been hard on all of us, and we've all had to make enormous adjustments and sacrifices in the past couple of years. But few Coloradans have been tested and pushed to the brink the way our educators have. Across the state, the job of educators has gone from tough to damn near impossible. Classrooms have gone virtual. Lesson plans have gone out the window. The mental health of our children has suffered, and teachers have been left to pick up the pieces while earning half of what they deserve. I want to take a moment to acknowledge the dedication of every educator in our state who has bent over backwards to ensure that our students can continue their education despite the turmoil. Recognizing their heroic efforts and sacrifices, I vow to fight tooth and nail to ensure that we don't divert a single dime away from public education. In fact, I'm proud to say that this session we are planning the largest investment in K-12 education in the state's history. Healthcare and public health will continue to guide many of the decisions we make in this building. Despite our exhaustion and fatigue, COVID has not relented yet. The Omicron variant is spreading through Colorado, and our hospitals and their staff are still feeling the pressure. While vaccines are working and keeping those who have gotten the shot out of the hospital, the situation in Colorado and around the country remains dire. I'd like to take this moment to thank the frontline health workers, like our very own Representatives Caraveo and Mollica, who have not rested to ensure the health and well-being of their fellow Coloradans. The best way to show our gratitude to these brave Coloradans is to keep doing our part. Get your booster shot, keep wearing masks, and look out for one another. When speaking of the duties of a citizen in a democratic republic, Teddy Roosevelt said, more than 100 years ago, that in the long run, the success or failure of said nation would depend on the way in which the average man or woman does their duty, first in the ordinary, everyday affairs of life, and next in what he dubbed those great occasional cries which call for heroic virtues. This is one such moment. Colorado needs the heroism of every man and woman who wishes to see our state succeed. In the past few weeks, I have personally been reminded of the strength and resiliency of the people of Colorado. As we prepared to enter the new year, thousands of our friends and neighbors in Boulder County were displaced by the Marshall Fire. I know the thoughts and prayers of everyone in this room remain with all those affected by the fire. Seeing people from every corner of the state step up to offer places to stay, items and funds to donate, reminded me of how tough everyday Coloradans are. Of course, some take this a bit further and have made being Colorado tough part of their job description. I'm talking about every single first responder who helped out that day, in particular Sheriff Joe Pelly and his team, whose ability to quickly execute the evacuation order saved lives. It's up to us. It's up to us to do our part to support first responders by continuing to tackle climate change head on. There is no doubt that the severity and the devastation of the Marshall Fire were intensified by our changing climate. Last year's low precipitation, coupled with hurricane-level winds, made for a perfect firestorm. What began as a suburban grass fire that would have raised little concern a decade ago ended as a destructive inferno and a reminder that climate change is a clear and present danger that we cannot let up the fight on. Threats to our Colorado way of life are not only coming in the form of fires and pandemics. We cannot stand idly by while extremism threatens our liberty, our fundamental rights, and our democracy. As some continue to deny that the 2020 election was free, fair, and decisive, we in Colorado will keep holding up our state-of-the-art election system as a model for the rest of the country to increase voter participation while guaranteeing electoral integrity. As states across the country outlaw abortion, threaten reproductive rights, and criminalize doctors who only seek to do right by their parents, we in Colorado will work overtime to ensure that the right to access a full range of reproductive health care including abortion, is never infringed upon. Government works best when we look ahead and anticipate the problems of tomorrow. That's why I'm so proud of this body, of each and every one of you for the forward-thinking policymaking that we've done since the beginning of the pandemic. After we acted swiftly in 2020 during the special session to send relief to families and businesses, we pivoted in the middle of session to focus on allocating the federal relief dollars. We shored up our state's reserves, and we set aside hundreds of millions of dollars to make lasting transformational change in the areas where help was needed most. Those areas for transformational change, affordable housing, workforce, mental and behavioral health, and economic recovery are more important now than they were just a year ago. Throughout our legislative interim, members in this body have been working diligently in those areas to come up with legislative solutions to the second wave of pressing needs brought on by COVID. The bills that will come out of the interim task force processes won't solve these problems overnight, but I am confident, as you all should be, that making historic investments in our state's affordable housing and mental and behavioral health infrastructure will address the root causes of some of the things that we see in our community, like crime and homelessness and the high cost of living in Colorado. If we do our jobs as well as I know we can, then we will be treating the underlying causes of the afflictions that face our state, not just managing the symptoms. Every year since I've been in this building, we sit here on day one and we lay out a laundry list of goals for ourselves. The task at hand seems monumental, even impossible at times, especially when you consider that the 120-day countdown has actually already begun. Yet somehow, through many long nights, many challenging committee hearings, many heated debates, we always find a way to get things done. I'd like to take just a quick moment here to talk about how I believe we should go about getting this done. Politics, as we all know, has always been a rough business, but we cannot allow ourselves to use any of this as an excuse to act in a way that is disrespectful or that dishonors this institution and the people who sent us here to govern. Don't put your ambition before the decorum of this institution. Don't use the well of this chamber as your Twitter handle. Park your politics outside the hollowed doors of this chamber. Being elected to this office is a tremendous responsibility. I don't have to tell you that. That responsibility includes acting with respect, practicing compassion, and extending understanding to all our fellow representatives. It's impossible to know what each of your colleagues is going through, but I personally know of several members in this chamber who will be showing up to work this session while facing challenges and tragic situations in their personal lives. In times as tough as these, we must be graceful, kind, and dignified as we work with each other. I talk about respect for the institution, the importance of upholding decorum a lot. Some of you may be tired of hearing it from me, but the longer you spend in this building, the more respect you have for the institution. It's important to clarify that a failure in decorum is not you failing me, it's you failing the people of Colorado. If you're not engaged in working on policy solutions, we're wasting the people's time. We're not elected to bicker or squabble. We're elected to govern and lead. It's up to us to restore people's faith in government. As I mentioned when I began, governing through a pandemic has changed the way I think about our responsibilities as lawmakers. When we campaign, we all come in knowing what we want to focus on during our time in the legislature. We pull from our experiences, we examine our own problems and aspirations, and decide the areas of public life we want to improve. Hopefully, when we are elected, we also know a little bit about our constituents and what they would like us to focus on. We all have deep roots in our communities and spend time going door to door, hearing what people want and need from their government. What we don't know is what hand will be dealt while we're in office. Societal unrest, global pandemics, economic downturns. As we all know, the focus of a legislative body can change in an instant. So our duty as representatives is to do the best we can with the trust we've been given. It is to listen and problem solve, to work together to find nimble fixes to thorny problems. We owe it to our constituents, to this institution, and to ourselves to stay humble, stay flexible, and stay steadfast in our commitment to making life in this state a little bit better every single day. Members, I look forward to working with all of you. Let's move Colorado forward together. At this time, I recognize Minority Leader McKean for the purpose of addressing the House.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I'm going to get me a glass of water, if that's okay. Now, folks, usually if somebody comes down here and gets a glass of water before they start talking, that's a bad sign, but I'm not going to keep you here all day, I promise. Mr. Speaker, thank you for your remarks. And as we have agreed before, there are a lot of things we'll work together on. And I think that today is a good day. Chief Clerk Jones, you bless this institution with your work, but it just may be that I was having a little conversation with a former chief clerk, and I asked, what could I say from Marilyn Edens to this body? And she said something really good to start with. And that is that there's a great song, and it says, remember to be humble and kind. And I think that that's a good place to start. Welcome back, friends. It's good to see you. It's good to be back. There are a lot of flowers over in the Senate, and you know, the joke on this side of the aisle tends to be that, for 120 days, Coloradans are in a little bit of jeopardy, and then come sign and die, we're all a little bit better, we can breathe a little easier. But those flowers should represent hope, and I think they will. Today officially marks our return to the 73rd General Assembly, the 147th year that we've come together to do the work of governing the state of Colorado. As we commence, it's fitting to think about the world ahead of us and the monstrous labor ahead for us, but also for those who lost their homes and were affected by the Marshall Fire in Boulder County. I cannot imagine the shock and the heartache of loss, and truly how difficult it is to work through the maze of rebuilding a life. Many of us here have taken time to go and help, and I know we're all here to help in any way we can. And at the great risk of keeping you here longer, let's just take a minute to hold them up in prayer, in our thoughts, and resolve that resolution to do everything we can to help folks who need our help the most. Thank you. On opening day last year, I talked about how much had changed over the last 146 years. From the gas lanterns and the silcock still on the brass out there that used to illuminate our halls, to the spittoons instead of filing cabinets that used to separate our desks. I also talked to you how many things remain the same, and including some that even today might surprise you. Remarkably, I'm still the minority leader. Go figure. Fortunately, our state is not at the brink of disaster. The impact of COVID, while still large, is abating, and we're moving into the endemic stage of this public health crisis. Months of drought have finally brought inches of snow to the Front Range and feet to the mountains. The Denver Broncos have fired their coach. and we're anticipating the arrival of warm days in spring. It would seem that things are trotting right along, but I really never imagined how much would change in the 11 months since I gave that speech. So much has changed in the existence of Coloradans' everyday lives, so much that we barely recognize broad swaths of our lives today. The ability to provide for one's family has changed dramatically. The everyday things we've taken for granted are different or often gone. The nightly news is a far different set of stories and alerts, things that we never could have imagined. For most of my young life, I heard that change was for the better. But today, standing here in front of you, I cannot make that claim universally. For many families across the state, inflation and the rapid increase in the cost of living have been extremely difficult. The goods that once were affordable and fit within families' budgets are no longer. And with changing school schedules and lack of childcare, many families are having to do less in a world where everything costs more. Across the board, inflation is costing the average American family hundreds more dollars a month. Consumer prices have increased 6.5%, producer prices by over 8%. This can be especially difficult in rural communities where families have further to drive. Folks out on our eastern slope and our western slope. Less access to goods and services out there. Just this year, housing prices have increased 20%, a record high. They're expected to continue rising. The cost to fill up your car, up 7%. Heat your home, up 112%. The price of coal is up 35%. Another essential for Colorado families, food. It's increased at a price at a faster rate this year than it did during the last decade. Nearly an additional $200 a month coming out of the budgets of families. Goods across the country have increased in price at the fastest rate in over 30 years, creating a real hardship for people everywhere. It costs them significantly more to feed their family every day, to drive to and from work, and to heat their homes. But we failed to truly make it better. Instead, most of the last legislative session was spent passing bills that increased taxes and fees and made life more expensive for the very people we're trying to help. Families have long memories of hard times. Most of our parents remember the toughness of the Depression. Many of us remember the inflation of the 1970s and the race between the money and the bills, never knowing which would run out first. But good times often make us forget, and we've had a few years of a good economy and opportunities with jobs and housing. What we will not forget is the legislation passed just last year that went around the Taxpayers' Bill of Rights by swapping the word tax for fee. We all know it's a gas tax. The governor said so more than once this week. But now, ahead of the election, he's decided to delay the very fees that he told us were critical to pass, saying that delay is saving people money, even though the fee is just another tax. So instead of playing tricksy with words, let's actually make things more affordable here in Colorado. Let's eliminate excessive taxes and fees. If families are not sitting around the table worrying about how to make ends meet, they're worried about the safety of their community and their kids. Today, communities like mine face organized car theft rings, early morning raids, robbing families on their way to get ready to get to work. It's not some fantasy. The monthly crime rate in Colorado right now, it's up 15%. Today, we find ourselves in a position of weakness. Laws passed in the last few years have put our way of life at risk. The policies have hit urban neighborhoods especially hard and have forced families to choose between living where they want or moving to where they feel safe. Folks, that's not fair. Hearing the staggering statistics of crime in our state over the last year should not come as a surprise. In fact, Republicans in this very chamber fought for hours on end in committee rooms here in this very building against the very legislation that helped create the problems we see today. As a result, Coloradans have had to deal with a 6.5% increase in violent crimes, the highest levels in 25 years. That included a substantial increase in homicides and aggravated assaults. Additionally, we lead the country in auto theft. Over the last 10 years, Colorado's rate has increased by 135%. The national average, 3%. We've seen the largest increase in property crimes in any state. Folks, this needs to stop. Over the vigorous opposition of members elected by a pretty large number of folks in this state, this legislature has passed bills that have eviscerated policing in the state of Colorado. Even while making claims to be getting tough on crime, they've passed, and the governor signed legislation making Colorado less safe. It's no wonder why criminals are able to get away with so much today. Law enforcement leaders from across the state are speaking up about how this legislation has impacted their communities. In Denver, the county court and district attorney have been releasing a record number of individuals with either no or low bond. The Denver police chief has had to turn to federal agencies so that criminals could actually be held accountable for their crimes. In Colorado Springs, Mayor John Suthers has blamed the legislation that's come out of this building in recent years for undermining public safety and soaring crime rates. He, along with other law enforcement leaders from across the state, have expressed their concerns with shortening prison sentences and the reclassification of crimes. In a time when retention is already hard enough, as police officers have been criticized by political leaders and the media, police departments across the state are having a hard time keeping people to patrol the streets. With increased regulations and demands from the legislature, officer safety is at risk. Mayor Suthers and many others worry about how they'll be able to rely on officers and find new ones for their understaffed departments. Unfortunately, public safety will only get worse if we continue to let individuals who get arrested out on low or no bond. By condemning all law enforcement officers as bad cops, depolicing is rising and officers are pulling back from community patrols. A reduction in the number and activity of police officers results in more dangerous criminals on the streets who pose a dangerous threat to communities. As a reality, Colorado, especially the Denver metro area, is a very different place in 2022, and not for the better. As state legislators, some of this is out of our control. But the policies enacted here during the last 3 years did not help. The current state of our state is not good. We are going to have to spend every day of the next 120 days fighting to make it better for the people of Colorado. We all agree on this. They deserve our very best effort and our undivided attention. The reality is that rising crime has a price tag, and a high one at that. As of late, the cost is about $27 billion, 77% of our state budget. But the cost to a family, that would be $4,762. We cannot afford to continue down this path. We have to return to the broken window theory of policing that puts an emphasis on all our laws and focus on training and rigorous reporting requirements for our law enforcement professionals. While Colorado families have been at home dealing with these issues, they've also had to pick up the pieces of their children's education. The move to remote learning was not only hard for teachers, and it was hard on teachers. Let's be clear about this, and I see nodding heads everywhere out there. The move to hybrid or remote learning was tough on everybody. But the problem is that we still don't know the true impact out of it. Colorado students were already behind in reading comprehension in math and science, and we now find out we lost even more ground. We need better options when it comes to our kids' educations. The future should not be a function of the past 3 decades, focusing on 4-year degrees and professional career tracks. Instead, it should be a compilation of every educational choice available: academic rigor, vocational training, practical business skills. They're all equal pathways to success for our kids. And we believe that parents must be empowered to make these decisions for what the best path is for their kids. Across the country, people are speaking up about these very issues. They want inflation and rising costs to be addressed so that they can afford the life that they once enjoyed. They want crime in their cities under control so that they and their children can feel safe in their neighborhoods. Almost 80% of parents want more control over what their children are learning in school and the schools that they attend. So what do? How do we move forward? As Republicans, we will do everything in our power to actually help Coloradans be able to afford to fill up their car with gas or go to the grocery store, to be able to heat their house this winter, to feel safe in their neighborhood and not have to worry about their children's safety or their personal property. We'll do everything we can to help bring the American dream back, to help alleviate the pain that families are facing every day. While our colleagues say they share these ideas, we've seen the reality of the policies they've had to complete control, when they've had complete control of this state for the last 3 years. It seems like the focus of what it will take to make Colorado the place we've all loved living and where we want to continue to live and raise our kids, it seems like they're all connected. Coloradans and Americans have come together in the frustration that it takes more to live now than it did a couple years ago. This year will require a focus on how we can lower the cost of living in the state through things we can control, eliminating the endless list of taxes and fees, not just postponing them. This will indeed be a year of showing our love for a state that's in trouble. Our commitment to Colorado will help improve the cost of living, offer solutions to make our communities safer, and give parents the tools to make decisions and improve the education of their children. We have a message and a direction to help heal and recover this state from all of the destruction in the last few years. We will deliver a state where middle-class families can afford their homes, gas, and groceries. We will reverse the excessive fees, taxes, and regulations that threaten to put the American dream out of reach for many Coloradans. We will seek to provide better training for our law enforcement officers, work to recruit and retain more law enforcement professionals, bring down the crime rate, and bring safety back to our neighborhoods. We will foster greater choice for all families and find innovative ways to ensure funding follows students rather than being bound to systems. We believe the one-size-fits-all system of education has failed some of our most vulnerable. As I have said before and will say again, we Republicans will rise to this podium each and every day, committed to ideals that have stood the test of time. We will continue to fight for a government that's accountable to its people so that we can all achieve our dreams by equalizing opportunity, not by attempting to equalize outcomes. Not all change is bad. The technological advances and improvements to the state capitol have helped us all do our jobs better. We should all be grateful for the changes that improved our lives. Changes that have proven to help our citizens speak to their government, our remote testimony in committees, one of the best changes we've had in recent years. It's been especially helpful in making our government accountable to the people. Not the change we've seen over the last few years, however. Some of those changes that we've seen that I deem harmful made right here in this building. What we're hearing is that Coloradans need our help. They need our voices to bring the American dream back. Just like last year, we have a long road to recovery ahead of us. Over the next 120 days of this legislative session, you'll hear every Republican repeating and reiterating many of the same statistics that you've heard today. Why? It's not just messaging. It's because these numbers are real. And they matter to the people of Colorado. These numbers represent a nurse whose car was stolen out of her driveway as she got ready to go to work. These numbers represent an entire class of students struggling to do geometry online. These numbers represent a single dad having to put some of the groceries back on the shelf. They represent people. They're who we need to fight for. And I stand here to tell you that we are committed to doing so.
Thank you, Representative McKean, Mr. Minority Leader. I do want to say that in one of my earlier drafts of my speech, I also said spittoon. You know, it would have been amazing had we both used the word spittoon in our opening day speeches, but I ended up taking mine out. All right, Majority Leader Escar.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I almost said it's an honor to serve with you before you said that, but I'm kidding.
Sorry.
It's an honor to serve with you, sir.
Honored to serve with you too.
I move that the remarks of the Speaker and the Minority Leader be printed in the House Journal.
Seeing no objection, the remarks from the Minority Leader and myself will be printed in the Journal. Seeing no further business before us, Majority Leader Escar. Are there any announcements? Does anyone want to say anything? Seeing none? No. Oh, here we go. Representative Bockenfeld, come on down. Oh, that's great. Representative Holtorf.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. In a spirit of bipartisanship and happiness, coming from the best place I can in rural Colorado, looking before many of my urban cousins and always trying to close for Representative Gray the rural-urban divide. We have the National Western Stock Show here. I will tell you, tonight we have the PBR Bull Riding Championships. Starts at 7. Your Western Heritage is featured in Denver over the next 2 weeks. We are making multi-million-dollar investments in this National Western Stock Show complex. I got to go on a tour on Monday. And ladies and gentlemen, if this body and the people in the Gold Dome do this right, Denver, Colorado, and the state of Colorado will be the center of preserving Western heritage, closing the rural-urban divide, and we need to all support that. And we need to work towards supporting our National Western Stock Show, which is a cherished tradition in Representative Valdez's district. And we are partners in that. I won't say it again, Representative Gray, but I am here to welcome all of you to come to the stock show. It's new, it's improved, they're on phase 2, and I'm excited. When we get phase 4 done, ladies and gentlemen, it's going to be amazing. I welcome any of you to come to me. I will personally escort you down for lunch at the National Western Stock Show Club. Any of my colleagues, I will pay for your lunch, and we can sit around a table during the entire hour and talk about closing the rural-urban divide.
Thank you, Representative Holton.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
I will say that this body invested $25 million in the stock show last year. Representative Wantine, that was your bill, I believe. I think does the Capitol Choir want to come on? Capitol Choir, and then we'll get to you, Representative Bockenfeld. Capitol Choir, come on down. I think we have a birthday today.
Capitol Choir, it is Julie McCluskey's birthday today. So in a bipartisan spirit, I offer all of you to come down and sing with us. Oh, and I am informed it's also Kevin Van Winkle's birthday. So do we sing twice?
All right.
Okay.
All right. Come on down. Minority Leader McKean.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I had a question. Since I knew that it was Representative Van Winkle's birthday, did the Senate sing to you, Representative Van Winkle? They fined you.
They just fined you. Don't worry, Representative Van Winkle. We got your back. We'll figure this out.
Mr. Speaker, are we allowed to ignore the messages from the Senate that we always hear?
I always do. I always bury them in the journal. All right, with that.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Representative McCluskey and Van Winkle. Happy birthday to you.
Majority Leader Escar.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And there is another half birthday happening today. She's just asleep in my office. It is Marlo's 6-month birthday today.
That is awesome. Marlo and Anders are only a week apart, which is very, very cool. Representative Bockenfeld.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. It's an honor to serve with you.
It's an honor to serve with you too, Representative Bockenfeld.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce a school in my district where some of the students are here today. It's the I-Team Ranch in Aurora, Colorado, part of the Cherry Creek School District. Are you folks up there? Stand up if you're part of the I-Team Ranch group.
Well, if not, we should make sure that they hear our applause for them.
Okay. Thank you very much.
All right, seeing no further business, Majority Leader Escar. Or, no, Representative Duran.
Thank you. I just wanted to announce that I am excused this Friday from the Majority Leader has excused me, so I just want to make that announcement. Thank you.
Yep, wonderful. Thanks so much. So approved. Majority Leader Escar.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move the House stand in recess until later today. Members, there is no need to return to the chamber after reading the introduction of bills. The Speaker will adjourn the House until tomorrow at 9 a.m.
Wonderful. Thanks so much. Seeing no objection, the House will stand in recess until tomorrow, or until later this afternoon.